So I think a great place to start is to give you an idea of what is the essential nature of what we teach in religious science, okay? So the basic essence of what Ernest Holmes did, it is a combination. It's a philosophy, it's a faith, it's a way of life. It's understanding that there's a universal power and principle, a sense of oneness that radiates in and through and as all things. He would say there is one mind, that mind is God's mind, that mind is my mind, that mind is my mind now. So basically what we define God is it's a consciousness. It's an essence that is everywhere present, that has always been and always will be. And out of this essence, it has individualized itself, and everything is a creation from it and out of it. So you and I are individualizations of God. We are the oneness of God, unique, whole, and perfect as ourselves. But we're not all of God, but all of us is God. Does that make sense there? So we have the power within us, just like God created everything. We have the power to create our own individual experience. And we do that based on what we believe. And our beliefs are not just what we think. Our beliefs are what we think, what we speak, and how we act, and the feelings behind it. Because you can think, speak, and act one way and feel this way that's completely different. And unless all four of those agreements are in alignment, or those qualities are in alignment, nothing will change. And we understand the way a psychologist would say it is there's a subconscious mind. And whatever patterns of thought are in the subconscious mind create the energy level or outer shell that you're putting out there that's attracting to you. So what we do in religious science is we try to change what's in the subconscious mind to create our experience. So we're going to begin with our first question. Tony Robbins teaches getting into a peak state. Is there a downside or drawback to getting into a peak state or feeling total elation? Feeling is what gives ideas power. So the whole idea is if you've got something, if you are going to pursue a mate, if you're looking for a mate, every time you think about what it would be like to be in a relationship with a mate, you've got to put the feeling of what you're feeling there, how good it is, what it's going to be like, how is it going to be to feel supported, how's it going to feel to support the individual, how's it going to be feeling to change, to share, to go places together, to walk the beach together, to have discussions together. You want to be able to put the whole feeling behind it. So when Tony's talking about getting in a state of elation, he's simply saying that when you're thinking something that you desire, you've got to put a powerful feeling behind it, because when you put the power feeling behind it, you are now bringing everything together and the belief becomes solidified. And the longer you do that, you implant that into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind says yes. So Tony Robbins' idea is definitely a benefit, and it definitely works. After years of believing in Jesus as my Savior, atoning for my sins, dying for me to be in the presence of God again, it's hard to let go of the belief with so much evidence. Well, we're going to nail this one. What evidence do you have? You have a book written in 325 AD, or the assimilation of that book in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea. In that book, they took all these other books, they decided which ones they were going to put in it, and they created this thing that is called the Bible. And in that Bible, it's been changed over 2,000 years, time and time and time again. So if you could start to go out there and you start to ask the questions, all religions that we know today are based on the worship of the sun. They're based on astrology. And if you go and you study and you start to realize that the story of Jesus is the same as the story of Horus, who was in 3000 BC, the Egyptian god. Every aspect of the Horus story is the same story of Jesus. Born of a virgin mother, the Holy Ghost is the Father. At the age of 12, went out and started teaching. At the age of 30, and then the crucifixion, the 3 days, and the dying. This story has been repeated over and over and over throughout history. And when you find this story, you will find that the 3 wise men were the 3 stars that are called the wise men that were aligned with another star. You will find that everything is in the history of the worship of the sun. And so what's happened is we've taken a very pagan pagan idea of worship of the sun, we've anthropomorphized this idea into a story about a man who might have or may not have ever existed. We don't know. Scientists will say this to you. Scientists will say, in history, other than the Bible, in any of the historic records of Rome or of Jewish times and that, there is no record of Jesus. If there was, if this man truly was doing what he was doing, there would be a historic record of it. The fact that he was put to death on the basis of what a Roman governor said, that would be in the record, things of that nature. The question you have to ask is, do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? You see, the teachings that are associated with Jesus, they're truth. The idea of love God above all else. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Go within. You see, the Bible is a book of stories. And in those stories, there are great lessons, and those lessons have been around for thousands of years. Remember that storytelling was the way that lessons were passed in ancient times. They didn't have the writing down in the historical documentation. Now, how you look at Jesus, it's up to you. There's no right way or wrong way. I gave you a completely the other side of the story thing. Basically, that's where I've evolved to. I honor people who believe in Jesus. It's their path. I don't ever knock anyone. I honor all paths. I honor people who believe in Buddha. I honor people who believe in Mohammed. They're all just guides. You see, your power, your presence is in here. It is the Father within. It is the divine within you. When we stop turning away to something outside and we find it within, we've claimed our power. How do you build a belief to create something if you're not sure how it will work? You start thinking it, you start speaking it, you start visualizing it, you start acting as if it is done, and you put your emotions behind it, and you listen. You listen one moment at a time, and the divine wisdom will guide and direct you one step at a time. You're not going to get the whole plan laid out. This is where most people fall. You never get the whole plan laid out. You get it step by step when you're open to receive it. So that's all you have to do. And when you quiet your mind, you'll hear. How can I improve on holding space for others without taking it on emotionally for myself? That's very simple. You are responsible for one person and one person only in your life, and that is yourself. Everyone else is an emanation of God. You have no power over them. You have no influence over them. The only thing that can happen is if you are demonstrating a life that they want, your presence will be an inspiration to them that will allow them to feel inspired from inside. But to change someone's life, you cannot. No one has ever changed anyone's life. The only people that change their lives are the people themselves. Think about an alcoholic. No one can help an alcoholic. No one can help a drug addict. No one can help a person who's got a hole in their heart. No, if I was a man and I was seeking a woman and I was seeking that woman to fulfill me, there's no woman on the planet that could fulfill me because fulfillment comes from within me, not from what that person does. So it's real simple in that aspect. You go within and you know the power is in you and you listen one moment, one step, one thought at a time. Why do mala beads have 108 beads? Because they do. I have a hard time accepting the concepts of karma and that happenings in previous lives would carry over to this one. Seems to me like a payback idea. Why not? Do you not get a clean slate? Death and rebirth. Well, first off, we don't know that there's death and rebirth. We don't know that. That's a thought. That's a way of looking at it. I'll give you how I see it. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever expanding. So what I understand about that is that the soul will always be moving up level of awareness. So it's becoming more aware of its presence, the power of the infinite. Well, if the soul is forever and ever expanding, and there is another life after this, the soul will come back into the next life at the same level of awareness that it was ended the prior life, and it will begin the journey from that point. Does that make sense? So I don't think you're punished by karma, but I think your level of awareness is where you come back in and you begin your journey again. That's the best I've got on that, without making up some fantastic story. How does agape help the community? We have a value statement determined for our global expansion. Our agape helps the community by being a presence in the community. When you go out there and you are non-judgmental, you're accepting everyone as they are, you're accepting every religious belief as it is, you're not judging, and you're being that presence, you're being that light for people, you're accepting them as they are, you're being authentic, you're becoming an inspiration in the world. The more you put that inspiration out there, the more people you impact. The more people you impact, the more people they impact. That's an impact on the world. It's very simple. You have to be the best authentic you. That's the best thing you can do in the community. Anything else is really charity. Charity's not bad. Charity's good. But the way you impact people is by being your authentic self, and you're creating a safe place for them to be their best authentic self. Why do so many spiritual and religious leaders eat meat? How can they claim to be connected when they ingest all that negativity? I don't have a friggin' clue. I don't eat meat, so I'm sacred. Everyone else, they're going to hell. I don't believe there's a right way or a wrong way. I don't believe that eating meat or not eating meat is right or wrong. I believe that's a personal decision that we make. I personally made the decision I'm a vegan except I eat organic eggs. And I've been doing that since the year 2000. And people ask me, why do I do that? Well, I found that by doing that, I was able to heal my body of a tumor in my brain. Through prayer work and changing of eating, I was able to heal myself. I also just found out that by doing what I do, my body feels better. I'm able to be what I am. So I do it based on what it feels. I know other people, I've got very deeply connected people. I'm also an A blood type. So being an A blood type means that I am prone, according to science, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I believe it, so it's going to be my truth, is that eating vegetarian is natural for me. My wife, she'll suck the juice right out of a steak. But, she's an O blood type. So there's a difference there. I think you have to make a decision for yourself. What I would ask you to do, though, is become aware of what you're eating. Are you eating quality beef? Are you eating quality chicken? Is it ingested with anything, ingested with chemicals that might not serve you? I believe that it's time that as we become more aware and we become aware of the choices of the food we eat, we will create a healthier body. I want you to know, when I was in Maui last week and I was walking around, I understand why healthcare costs are going up. I understand why there are more and more hospitals being built. Just watch how people eat. And what I'm going to say about what people are eating is this. I believe people have not found their inner self. They've not found their inner joy. They've not found their inner purpose. They've not discovered their values. And ergo, they're living unconsciously. In order to fill the void, they're filling themselves with food and alcohol, and it's addiction. And that addiction is turning their bodies into obese and sickly bodies, and they're demonstrating the process of what they're doing. I think awareness will bring health. Why is it so important that we have a daily spiritual practice? Are some practices more important than others? Without a daily spiritual practice, you're going to be living in the world of cause and effect, and you're not going to change your life. Daily spiritual practice is the process by which you take control. It's the only way to increase awareness. By meditating, in the state of meditation, you start to become aware of your thoughts. You're increasing your awareness. By doing affirmations or prayer work, you're consciously choosing your thoughts. You're choosing the direction of where you want your mind to go. By being in gratitude, you're focusing on what's good in life. You're focusing what you're grateful in life. You're creating an energy. Without a spiritual practice, you're not creating a different energy. Without a different energy, like energy attracts like to it. So if you don't do a spiritual practice, you're going to stay in the old energy and I keep attracting the old experience over and over and over again. Spiritual practice is the key to everything. Without it, nothing changes. Why do I have no questions? You're in a deep state of meditation. When I am with my parents, why, when I'm with my parents, do I revert back to a child? How do I have an adult relationship with them and maintain that respect? You revert back to a child because in your own mind you see yourself as a child. You've not stepped up into an adult role. You put your parents on a pedestal, and now it's time for you to bring your pedestal down to the same level you are, because that's who they are. They're individualizations of God, and you're an individualization of God. They deserve the same respect that you give every other person on the planet. Take your parents, take your wife, take your husband, take a minister, take everyone off of the pedestal. They're your equal. Never subordinate yourself to anyone. When you subordinate yourself to someone, there's no possible way you can love yourself, let alone love them. Anger, impatience with people that do not plan, turns into a bad decision in life, and financial debt when they want freebies. Yes, my mind is my own business. Anger. Anger means you don't know who you are, and you don't know what you value, and you don't know what you believe. You're living unconsciously. Because anger means I have turned my power over to someone else. It is an emotional response that I am not whole, perfect, and complete. If I'm centered in meditation, if I'm centered in my spiritual practice, why we're doing spiritual practice, so you don't get angry. If I'm centered in and I realize that everything within me is there, and I recognize that life is always in balance. This is a really big one. Life is always in balance. There's always as much good and bad going on in our lives. And when we recognize that we live in a state of telos. When we're living in a state of telos, we're living in the state of living through the divine eyes, because the divine does not judge. The divine is all. It has nothing to compare against. So it's always in balance. When we see life through the eyes of the divine, we see that everything is in perfect harmony. We will not get angry. We will not judge. We will accept people that they're on their unique path. Those that are not vibrating on the same path, we will release them, we will let them go, and we will attract people on our path that will love and support us as we move forward. Who are your top 3 spiritual teachers, living or dead? Ernest Holmes, Joseph Murphy, Charles Hannell, Frederick Bales, John DeMartini. Those are my favorite teachers. People ask me why. Because of the type of person I am, they speak the language I understand the most. I try to find people that I connect with and resonate with. I think my biggest teachers are my wife and my sons, because they're the ones that are challenging me and supporting me. See, it doesn't have to be someone outside of your immediate familial or friendship basis. They can be your biggest teachers as long as you're looking at what they're doing and you're aware that they're trying to bring you back to who you truly authentic are. The key thing is you've got to understand yourself and come from that. How does one develop the skill of emotional awareness? I know my emotions at times can be like a personal GPS. When I'm stressed, I'm prompted to relax. Or when I'm bored, I need excitement. But too many times I'm out of touch. You've got to meditate. You've got to meditate, and you've got to become aware of your thoughts. And then meditation is just not only sitting in silence, but it's walking around. It's walking around observing. What am I thinking when I'm seeing this? What am I thinking when I'm seeing that person doing this? How am I behaving in this situation? If I'm feeling anger, okay, I'm with this person, I'm angry with them. Here's a great story. So I'm going to take my father out to dinner. And taking my father out to dinner is always a joy. And my father's got to be in a wheelchair. So I've got to get him from the wheelchair, get him to the car, get him in the car and that. Well, my father has a girlfriend, Dixie. Well, we're going out to dinner, and Dad's there. I've tried to call Dixie for 45 minutes, haven't been able to get her, yada, yada, yada. My dad is almost 90 years old. He has the highest sense of urgency. And when that sense of urgency is not met, what happens? His emotions go way up. So I said, Dad, she probably has her phone turned off. I'll go to her room. I'll get her. We'll come down. I go to her room. Her phone was turned off. Got her. We came down. Oh, I've been trying to call you. Oh, I've been trying to call you. We get to the restaurant. The waitress comes over, and he starts barking at her. And she's talking, and I looked at him and said, so Dad, why are you giving that waitress the stink eye? He was giving her the stink eye. And I looked at him and I said, so you're still carrying around the fact that Dixie didn't return your call, And the fact was, she had her phone turned off. There was nothing that happened there. You see how he got tangled up in his own self-perception, his own false idea, and it affected him, but he wasn't aware enough to see it. And then I called him on it. He saw it, and he shifted his mood just like this. That's why we have friends, to help us shift our moods. If friends aren't doing that for us, don't have them as friends. They're not worth it. How do I navigate between being complete and one and still need to connect with others for a romantic connection? Well, you're doomed. You're just doomed. Because if you have the need and you have to change to be with someone, it's not worth it. It's a codependent relationship. The idea is you have to become fulfilled, full, perfect as you are, accepting yourself as you are, and then you'll attract someone in your life who's at that same level, and you come to an agreement that we will support and grow each other. The only reason for a relationship, we've got to come out of the old paradigm that we're in relationships and it's going to be a happy ever after ending. There's no such thing as happy ever after. There's the journey and happy. Then there's a journey and happy, the journey and happy. You see, it's a perpetual cycle. It never ends. To think it's going to always be happy is the source of all misery. The whole idea that you're going to get to the end and there's the American dream fulfilled, that's bogus. That's keeping you in the world of consumerism. Think about that. Let's fulfill the American dream. What are they trying to do? Buy your first house, your second house, your third house, your fourth house. When you're buying those houses, what are you doing? You got to buy furniture. You got to buy the cars. You got to buy the clothes. You got to keep buying things. What does it do? It gets you in debt. What happens? It feeds the machine. And when you do all that, you never are happy. Happiness goes within. And how do we become happy or in a state of oneness? We go back to our daily spiritual practice. Daily spiritual practice is the key to living in oneness. It's not what you buy, and here's the other thing. It's not where you do it. Well, you know what? I'll be really spiritual when I get to Sedona. I'll be real spiritual when I get to this vortex at the base of the foothills in the Himalayas. No. God, infinite power, source, is everywhere present. It's always been and always will be. It's right where you are now. All you got to do is open your awareness to the presence and feel it and speak into it and from it, and you will create. Regardless of legality, do you think that the effects of marijuana can be used as a spiritual tool in meditation? As soon as it becomes legal, I will test that, and I'll give you a testimonial on that. Where might have some of the masters, science of mind teachers, missed the mark? I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote. I know that when Ernest Holmes did Science of Mind, it was pretty darn pure. Especially when I go back to the original Science of Mind, the one written in 1926, I believe. Really pure. I don't think the concept's missing the mark. I think how much emphasis is put on spiritual practice. Ernest Holmes said this, at the end of his life, I wish I had focused more on love than mind. Focused more on love. What he meant was focused on being in oneness, focused on the idea of meditation. He was talking about more using the mind. All of the science of mind is that. And I thought, Jesus said it, you've got to go within. And when you go within, that's the key. We should be spending half of our spiritual practice going within. The rest of it in awareness, speaking it out. You see, there's a balance there. I think the teachings of Jesus, he taught the going out, the speaking, the building of the belief. I think the Buddha taught the going within. I think if you blend Jesus and the Buddha together, you have the perfect model. Well, that's it. I've answered all your questions to the best of my ability at this moment, so we're just going to let that be the case. So let's go within and let's anchor this in prayer. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.